Chapter entitled The Son of Drona Punished. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shaunaka Vacha Nirgate Narade Sutta Bhagavan Badarayanaha Shrutavamshtad Abhipretam Tataha Kimakarod Vibhuha.
Rishi Sonaka asked, O Sutta, the great and transcendently powerful Vyasadeva heard everything from Sri Narada Muni. So after Narada's departure, what did Vyasadeva do?
Text 2. Sutta Vacha Brahmanatyam Sarasvatyam Ashramaha Pashchimetate Shamya Prasa iti prokta Rishinam Satravardhanaha.
Sri Sutta said, on the western bank of the river Saraswati, which is intimately related with the Vedas, there is a cottage for meditation at Samyaprasa, which enlivens the transcendental activities of the sages.
Text 3. Tasmin swa ashrame vyaso badari shandamandite asinopa upasprishya pranidadhyo manaha swayam.
In that place, Srila Vyasadeva, in his own asrama, which was surrounded by berry trees, sat down to meditate after touching water for purification.
Text 4. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male apashyat purusham purnam mayam cha tad apashayam.
Thus he fixed his mind, perfectly engaging it by linking it in devotional service, bhakti yoga, without any tinge of materialism. And thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead along with his external energy, which was under full control.
Stop. Say question. Say sorry.
Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, I think I made a mistake. I think it's not my turn today, but tomorrow.
It's all right, Mataji, not to worry.
I'm sorry
You're
about
reading
that.
so well. Do you want to continue? I can do it tomorrow. It's fine.
No,
Read it to the shoot.
okay. Is that fine with you?
Absolutely fine. Please go on.
I'm so sorry. I just got mixed up a bit.
No, it's all right. No worries. Go on, please.
Thank you. Okay. So we are on text 5, right? We're reading
Yes,
text 5?
yeah.
Yeah. Yaya sammohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manute nartham tatkritam chabhipadyate.
Due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries.
Text 6. Anarthopashamam sakshad bhakti yogam adhokshaje lokasya janato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam.
The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled the Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth.
Text 7. Yasyam Vaishruyamānāyam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktir Utpadyate Pumsaha Shoka Moha Bhayapaha.
Simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness.
Text 8. Sasamhitam bhagavatim kritvānukramya chatmajam shukam adhyapayam asa nivritti niratam munihi.
The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Srimad Bhagavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Sukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization.
Text 9. Shaunaka uvacha savai nivritti nirataha sarvatropekshako munihi kasya va brihatim etam atma ramaha samabhyasat.
Sri Sonaka asked Suta Goswami. Sri Suka Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, and thus he was pleased with his own self. So why did he take the trouble to undergo the study of such a vast literature?
Text 10. Suta uvacha Atmaramascha munayo nirgrantha apyurukrame kurvantya haitukim bhaktim itham bhuta guna harihi.
Suta Goswami said, all different varieties of Atmaramas, those who take pleasure in the Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls.
Text 11. Harer gunakshiptamatir bhagavan badarayanihi adhyagan mahat akyanam nityam vishnu jana priyaha.
Srila Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Srila Vyasadeva, was not only transcendently powerful, he was also very dear to the devotees of the Lord. Thus, he underwent the study of this great narration, Srimad Bhagavatam.
Text 12. Parikshito tharaja shrir janma karma vilapanam samstham cha pandu putranam vakshe krishna kathodayam.
Suta Goswami thus addressed the rishis, headed by Sonaka. Now I shall begin the transcendental narration of the Lord Sri Krishna and topics of birth, activities and deliverance of King Parikshit, the sage amongst kings, as well as topics of the renunciation of the worldly order by the sons of Pandu.
Text 13 to 14. Yada mridhe kaurava shrinjayanam vireshvatho viragatim gateshu vrikodara viddhagadabhimarsha bhagnorudande dhritarashtraputre bhartuha priyam droniriti sma pashyan Krishna sutanam swapatam shiramsi upaharad vipriyameva tasya jugupsitam karma vigarhayanti.
When the respective warriors of both camps, namely the Kauravas and the Pandavas, were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the dead warriors obtained their deserved destinations. And when the son of Dhritarashtra fell down lamenting, his spine broken, being beaten by the club of Bhimasena, the son of Dronacharya, Ashwatthama, beheaded the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi and delivered the heads as prizes to his master, foolishly thinking that he would be pleased. Duryodhana, however, disapproved of this heinous act, and he was not pleased in the least.
Text 15. Mata shishunam nidhanam sutanam nishamya ghoram paritapyamana tadarudat vashpakalakulakshi tam santvayanaha kiritamali.
Draupadi, the mother of the 5 children of the Pandavas, after hearing of the massacre of her sons, began to cry in distress with eyes full of tears. Trying to pacify her in her great loss, Arjuna spoke to her thus.
Text 16. Tada shuchaste pramrijami bhadre yad brahma bandho shira atatainaha gandiva mukter vishikhairupahare twakramya yatsnasya siddagdha putra.
O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of that Brahmana, after beheading him with arrows from my Gandiva bow, I shall wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you. Then, after burning your sons' bodies, you can take your bath standing on his head.
Text 17. Iti priyam valgu vichitra jalpai sasantvayitva chutamitra sutaha anvajavatam shita ukradhanva kapidhvajo guru putram rathena.
Arjuna, who is guided by the infallible Lord as friend and driver, thus satisfied the dear lady by such statements. Then he dressed in armor and armed himself with furious weapons, and getting into his chariot, he set out to follow Ashwatthama, the son of his martial teacher.
Text 18. Tam apatantam savilakshya durat kumara hodvigna manarathena parajavat prana paripsururvyam yavad gamam rudra bhayad yathakaha.
Ashwatthama, the murderer of the princess, seeing from a great distance Arjuna coming at him with great speed, fled in his chariot, panic-stricken, just to save his life, as Brahma fled in fear from Shiva.
Text 19. Yadasharanam atmanam aikshata shrantavajinam astram brahma shiromene atmatranam dvijatmajaha.
When the son of the Brahmana, Ashwatthama, saw that his horses were tired, he considered that there was no alternative for protection outside of using his ultimate weapon, the Brahmastra, nuclear weapon. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Vrinda Devi Mataji and Hitesh Prabhu. Very well recited. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. I'm sorry once again. And Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. Forgive me for any mistakes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prayagraj Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Shall I make you the host now?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
So let me share my screen. Okay. So I guess everyone can see now.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, great. Yeah. So we are going to discuss continuation from yesterday, 172, first chapter, first canto, 7th chapter, second verse. Let's start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktire Bhavati Naishtaki. Yam pravrajeta manupe tamapeta krityam dvaipayano virahka tar ajuhava. Utreti tanmayatayo tarvo vinedustam sarvabhuta hridayam munimanatosmi. Suta uvacha brahmanadyam saraswatyam ashramaha paschime tate shamya prasa iti prokta rishinam satravardhanaha. Suta uvacha Brahmanadyam saraswatyam ashramah paschime tate shamya prasa iti prokta rishinam satravardhanaha. Suta uvacha Brahmanadyam saraswatyam ashramah paschime tate shamya prasa iti prokta rishinam satravardhanaha. So word by word translation. Here. Sri Suta, Uvacha said, Brahmanadyam, on the bank of the river intimately related with Vedas. Brahmanas, Vedas, Brahmanas sent and the Lord. Saraswatyam, Saraswati, Ashramaha, cottage for meditation. Paschime, on the west. Tate, Tate is a bank. Shamya Prasa, the place named Shamya Prasa. Iti, thus, Proktaha, said to be, Rishinam, of the sages. Satravardhanaha, that which enlivens activities. Sri Suta, translation, Sri Suta said, on the western bank of the river Saraswati, which is intimately related with the Vedas, there is a cottage for meditation at Shamya Prasa, which enlivens the transcendental activities of the sages. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For spiritual advancement of knowledge, a suitable place and atmosphere are definitely required. The place on the western bank of the Saraswati is especially suitable for this purpose, and there is the ashram of Vyasadeva at Shamya Prasa. Srila Vyasadeva was a householder, yet his residential place is called ashrama. An ashrama is a place where spiritual culture is always foremost. It does not matter whether the place belongs to the householder or a mendicant. The whole Varnashrama system is so designed that each and every status of life is called an ashram. This means that spiritual culture is the common factor for all. The brahmacharis, the grihasthas, the vanaprasthas, and the sannyasis all belong to the same mission of life, namely realization of the Supreme. Therefore, none of them are less important as far as spiritual culture is concerned. The difference is a matter of formality on the strength of renunciation. The sannyasis are held in high estimation on the strength of practical renunciation. So that's the today's verse. We'll change that again after some time. So Let's chant our Mangala Charana. Om Adnyantimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayehu Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Saradvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaurava Prabhu Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Yantah Pravishya Manavachamimam Prasuttam Sanjeevayate Akhila Shaktivara Swadamna Anyamscha Hastacharana Shravanat Pagadin Pranannamo Bhagavate Purushaya Tukkam Suta Uvacha Brahmanadhyam Saraswatyam Ashramaha Paschime Tate Shamyaprasa Iti Prokta Rishinam Satravardhanaha. Sri Suta said, on the western bank of the river Saraswati, which is intimately related with the Vedas, there is a cottage for meditation at Shamyaprasa, which enlivens the transcendental activities of the sages. So, again, very, very important verse, important chapter itself, because that's how the beginning of the start of Srimad Bhagavatam is. Because, as it progresses, we chanted the Vrindadevi Mataji very beautifully chanted the verses, and we could see the details of what's coming up in this chapter. So let's talk about Srila Vyasadeva. He's an Atmarama. He's satisfied within himself. He's a empowered personality. He's a that's why he's referred as a Bhagwan, Badarayana, who is sitting surrounded by the berry trees in a proper mode of goodness. And Saraswati, the name itself indicates, as we all know, that all the rivers are the personalities, and they're from the spiritual world. They're the perfect personalities. So, as Mother Ganga is from the lotus feet of the Lord, and Yamuna is in a Swakiya Bhav, the consort of the Lord, and then Saraswati is an expansion of Mother Ganga, as per the Parashar Samhita. What is the speciality of this river? She appears only for certain span of time, or certain certain patch in the Himalayas, and then she disappears. She becomes a Gupta, and of course she appears. The person who has a spiritual vision, they can see that river at the confluence in Prayag. Now it is called Prayagraj. So that's where Mother Saraswati is, and those who had been to Mayapur, that's where the appearance of Mother Saraswati is. If you travel from our temple towards Ambika Kalna, it's around 1.5 hours boat journey. And in that, when I was there in one of the yatras, I think Shamanan Prabhu was there in the same boat, and he was telling that how to distinguish the different rivers in that journey. So after a certain span of time, we will see a very crystal clear blackish type of water, that is Yamuna, and later there is a very fresh, whitish looking type of water for a very short span of time in that journey, and that is actually Mother Saraswati. So from the Shastra Chakshu, somebody, our seniors or our Acharya has actually explained how Mother Saraswati manifests, or she appears in her journey towards the sea. So obviously she's the goddess of knowledge, jnana, and vidya. So vidya is the person who has a desire for knowledge. He or she gains that knowledge, and that desire of absorbing the knowledge is bringing Jivatma to the point of knowledge, and that process is called Vidya Arjana. That means gaining that knowledge. So that's why it is called Vidya, and knowledge is called Jnana, and that's why we can see and realize knowledge is called Vijnana. So Jnana is the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We have that Arjuna Vishad Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and then Karma Sannyas Yoga and Dhyan Yoga, and so on and so forth, Vijnana Yoga. So in that we can see Jnana Yoga, Lord gave the knowledge first, and how to realize that knowledge. He talks about the details in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So that's what here the emphasis is. Mother Saraswati, or the river Saraswati, is very special, and the surrounding around her is also very special, and that's the place which is where Srila Vyasadev's residence is. He's a householder and he's residing there. So for today's verse, we will be going through some of the very important points of the Varnashram system. What Vyasadeva is writing after this means he's giving this knowledge in Srimad Bhagavatam is a Paramahansa Samhita. I think yesterday we discussed about the 3 types of Shabda Bhashya, Guhya Bhashya, and Samadhi Bhashya. And Srila Vyasadeva is the expansion of the Lord himself. He's the Shaktiavesh avatar, empowered personality. So obviously he is in a complete state of Samadhi. As per the yesterday's verse, if we check this, so what he saw yesterday is the vision. Before commencing Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva realized the whole truth by trance in devotion. So he is in Samadhi, and now this is the next verse, the subsequent verse of that, and that's where Suta Goswami is explaining what was the surrounding, what was the background behind it, and the western bank of river Saraswati. Everything we can see is auspicious here, and which is intimately related with the Vedas, because Vedas is a knowledge. Veda, literal translation of Ved is knowledge, and there is a cottage for meditation at Shamya Prasa. That is the name of the place, which enlivens the transcendental activities of the sages. So him and his all disciples, they are in the surrounding areas, and that's where he's going to give the commentary of on the Vedanta Sutra, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. The summary of Sripad Narad Muni's instructions, as we have discussed in the 5th and 6th chapter, is what he says in effect is, he says you need to write the literature which explains the nature of pure love between Supreme Lord and his devotees. And what is that nature of pure love? That is going to be explained here. Prema Pumartho Mahan. That's what the verse from Chaitanya Mathamanjusha, which is given by Srinath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the associates of Mahaprabhu. That means the personalities who have understood, absorbed, and personified the teachings of the Shastra. That is the Who are those personalities? They are the pure devotees of the Lord. And that is the exchange between the Lord and the pure devotees is going to be explained, is going to be narrated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Shastra. Vedavyas, here, as we have seen, he has chosen a special holy place and which enlivens the transcendental activities of all the sages, means all the sages in the surrounding, as we were discussing yesterday, that the students and the teacher, when they are highly qualified, who is to receive the knowledge and to deliver the knowledge by the teacher and to receive by the very qualified student, that makes the atmosphere very powerful, very, very conducive to enliven the whole world, the whole universe. And that's what Srila Vyasadeva is making sure that the arrangement is perfect. So Srila Prabhupada always emphasizes the importance of the holy place and the holy atmosphere. So physical holy place is one thing, like Mayapur Dham or Vrindavan Dham, Jagannath Puri Dham, Dwarka Dham, Mathura Dham. They're all the holy places, and we all have experienced the very charged up, very powerful atmosphere of the holy place. How that is experienced when somebody who is guiding us, the importance of that holy place, the Shastra Chakshu, we talked about yesterday, the eyes are, this is Charma Chakshu, what we can see. This is Karana Chakshu, when we hear and then we realize something in our consciousness. Then Sparsha Chakshu, through the touch of somebody, you realize the sense of love. And in earlier days, just by touching the head of the disciple, Guru could give a special mercy to that disciple so that the disciple could absorb the knowledge perfectly. So that is Sparsha Chakshu. So there are different types of Jnana Chakshu, is the eyes of knowledge. So there are different types of naming given to gain the knowledge, and everything comes to the Chakshu because that is an eye, and through eyes, it's a very important organ. We gain a lot of things. Just by looking at somebody, we realize that the person is happy with you or sad with you. Very important point. So ashram, let's come back to this whole point of holy place, ashram. The dhatu in Sanskrit for ashram is ashrita. So it means taking the shelter. And here the ashram of Vyasadeva is making sure that at that place, that will be the source of all the knowledge, Vedic knowledge. And he has given till now, before Srimad Bhagavatam, he has given Veda, Vedanga, Upanishad, Itihasa, Purana, and everything. If we find time, we will quickly go through the details of the scriptural categories and how that is delivered to the humanity and what is available today in Kali Yuga. If time permits, we will go through that. Ashram is explained by our acharyas, and obviously Srila Prabhupada has given us in a very proper, beautiful form in his purports. He says it's a place where spiritual culture is always foremost, and that is, it's under the divine guidance of our spiritual leaders and acharyas. This culture is proven, tested again and again by examples. Such spiritual culture is followed by every civilized person throughout the day, according to Varnashram Dharma. That is, what is the famous verse for the Varnashram Dharma from Bhagavad Gita? Can anyone give the reference? Chaturvarnam maya shishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. 4 varnas are divided, decided according to the person's psychophysical nature. Guna karma vibhagashaha. The person, what is the Jivatma has come to this earth with certain qualities, their karma and what what they deserve and what they desire. Accordingly, the body is awarded by the Lord, and that's what this verse is giving us the details of. Chaturvarnam maya shishtam gunakarma vibhakasha. Who has done that? The Lord Himself has beautifully made the arrangement in this world so that this world will continue to progress, to function properly. So in that, every class of person lives in certain type of ashram with their rule, with the rules and regulations of that ashram. So can someone give the details of what are the types of ashrams we have? Anyone?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, types of ashrams you said?
Yes.
Brahmacharya ashram, Grihastha ashram, Vanaprastha ashram, and Sannyas ashram. Is that the one?
Yes, great. So these are the 4 types of ashrams every person goes through. But there are other types of ashram as well, or those are varnas, we can say.
Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you, Madhuri. Great. So a person who is Brahman. Let's come to the point of who is Brahman. Brahman is the one, Brahma Janati iti Brahmanyam. Is the person who has realized the Vedic knowledge, who has understood, absorbed, and realized the Vedic knowledge is Brahman. So now in ISKCON, we get Brahman Diksha. Does it mean the person is Brahman? So the answer is no. When we get our first initiation, that is Harinam Diksha. That means our spiritual master accepts us as a disciple to show the path of purification. So that is basically the point of, we accept the part of the path of regulation, and we accept that mercy from our sampradaya through our spiritual masters. So that is, first is the Harinam Diksha. And then after that we are supposed to follow rules, regulations of our chanting the holy name 16 rounds, and then following 4 regulatory principles, doing regular service in our temple and preaching and everything. Then comes to the point of the second aspect, that now we have to start studying the scriptures, worshipping the deities. So that time our spiritual master gives us the Gayatri Mantra. That is the Brahman Diksha. For men, we get the sacred thread. So what does that mean? That means the 3-time Trisandhya means a person is supposed to worship the Lord with the Manas Puja at 3 times a day. In the Prahara, it is called as Prathama Prahar, which is in the morning, Brahma Muhurta, then Madhya Prahara, which is the afternoon, and Sandhya Prahar, which is in the evening, during the twilight. So that time we are supposed to perform the Manas Puja of the Lord. And obviously, whenever possible, we are supposed to follow the principles of deity worship. So obviously, when we are doing Manas Puja, we have the facility to perform the deity worship as well at home, and for whomever possible, they can do it in the temple. So that is the Gayatri Mantra and the thread. So along with that, obviously, we have to have that desire to purify our consciousness. And how to do that? By studying the Shastras. When we start studying the Shastras, our consciousness comes to the point that now the person becomes well versed in the Shastras. The person can start debating, and then they can convince others about how important the Vedic principles are. When any person becomes well versed with the Shastras, that the stage is called Vipra. After Vipra, the person is supposed to perform the austerities of realizing that knowledge, following the actual principles um, with the due diligence from the scriptures, how to live a life. And when the person follows that principle, for example, for Brahman, there are 6 regulations: Yajan, Yajan, Pathan, Pathan, Pratigraha, and Dhan. So what is that Yajan, Yajan, Pathan, Pathan? That means he's supposed to host the sacrificial performances in this Kali Yuga. Of course, the sacrifice we are supposed to perform is the Sankirtan Yajna, but still some certain qualified personalities can do the fire sacrifice as well. Yajan, Yajan, and help facilitate others to perform the sacrificial performances, and including the congregational chanting of the holy name. So Yajan, Yajan, Pathan, that means you are supposed to study the Shastra, and Pathan, and teach the Shastra, the scriptures. So Yajan, Yajan, Pathan, Pathan. Pratigraha. There are 2 very important points. The Brahmana consciousness is the Brahman should always be so humble and so submissive, and that is why it is recommended to beg the alms. That is why when Brahman goes in front of earlier, the Brahmins used to go to different houses, and the lady of the house used to give the grains or certain bhiksha to the Brahman. And what he used to say? Om bhavati bhiksham dehi. So please give me some alms. So that was he is making. That develops the humility. Because of the knowledge, it is very easy to become proud. And to when we are saying that I am just a receiver, to remind that the Brahmana is supposed to beg. And how much he can beg, only for that day, what the person requires, not more than that. So earlier, some of the Kshatriyas, they used to give a lot of donations to the Brahmanas, cows and land and all that. And Brahman will accept it only which is required for their daily purpose. If they get more than that, Prati agraha means just begging the alms. And Dan, if there is any extra, that Brahman is supposed to donate it. They should not keep it with themselves. The 6 qualities of Brahman. When performing such austerities, the Brahman, they realize the knowledge, what they have learned through the Shastras. And at that point of time, that person, the Vipra, starts getting the higher realization. It's the purification of consciousness. And we can see that earlier, if the Brahman says that this will go wrong with you, any sharp or any curse, and that used to be true. So because that Brahman, because of that purity, the person gets Vacha Siddhi. Whatever they speak, that becomes true. Very powerful. And that is a very big responsibility, because as we know, power comes with responsibility. So Brahmins used to, and that person, Brahma Janati iti Brahmanya. So that is the spiritually enlightened personality. So that is Brahman. Kshatrayate iti, the person who is supposed to protect and administer. That's a Trayate means protect. So Kshatrayate iti, that is Kshatra, Kshatriya, and that is the job of certain class of people who are the administrators and who are warriors, who are fighters. So that is the ruler class. What was the situation earlier? That even if the Kshatriya owns everything, possesses everything, he has the power of legal power, materially very rich, the food, everything was available to them. But at certain point of time, when after a certain age, the same Kshatriya is supposed to renounce everything, wear the rags, go to the forest, and retire from all the worldly affairs and follow the life of mendicant. And that was the process earlier. That is Kshatriya. Third one is a Vaishya, is a mercantile community. So earn a lot of money, have a lot of cows, farms, and trading and everything. Huge amount of money. That is the third category. And they are the people who were paying a lot of taxes to the treasury. Obviously, the topmost is Brahmana, and all others, whenever Brahmana begs alms, no one should hesitate to give the donations to the Brahmana. That is very important principle. And that is why when Brahmins are taken care of, they are looked after by all others. Vaishya and Shudra is basically the worker class. Most of us in the Kali Yuga are Shudra. So when Brahman is taken care of properly, when they are happy, the world prospers. And example is in 8th canto when Bali Maharaj was respecting and worshipping Brahmanas, powerful personalities, he could conquer the entire universe. Important principle here. So that is the Varnashram Dharma. So we and Brahmacharis are the if we come back to this Brahmachari, Grahastha, and Vanaprastha, and then Sannyas, this order, Brahmachari is the one where the boy is supposed to perform a lot of austerities, because austerities are important for the purification of the consciousness, so that in Grahastha life, when that boy will start earning for their livelihood, they know the importance of purification. Because when that boy was Brahmachari, other Grahasthas were looking after that person, and that's the sense of gratitude. So humility, gratitude, being humble, everything was part of the Varnashram system. We'll come to that point after some time. There is a beautiful book written by Srila Shivram Maharaj, and we'll come to that reference in a few minutes. So a person who does not follow the rules of ashram, who does not take ashram, ashrita is the dhatu, that means taking shelter. So person who does not follow the rules of ashram, even if that, Srila Prabhupada says this is a very, very profound, very important statement, even if that person is materially successful, and even if that person tries to live the life with activities in mode of goodness, it's the life of sense gratification and bound by the laws of material nature. That is, and that person is Grihamedhi, not Grahastha. Means Grahamedhi means he is using everything for the sense gratification. Grahastha, stha means he's a stable person in that ashram. And that is why that's the difference between Grahastha and Grahamedhi. I just remembered something. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. In such unregulated life, there is always the possibility of governance of pride, envy, anger, and illusion. And very important point, in case of Grahamedhi life, so we'll always fall prey to these 6 defects of Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsara, pride, envy, anger, illusion, etc. And that is why how important Grahastha life is. One of the essential verses we went through in 5th chapter is Tyaktva sadharma charanam bhujam hare bhajanna pakotha patet tato yadi yatrakva bhadram abhudamushikim kuvartha apto bhajatam swadharvataha. What Narad Muni says is, if a person is doing their job perfectly but without spiritual consciousness, what is the use? Would he's asking the rhetoric question. That means basically he's saying it's all useless. But if the person is doing his spiritual duties, even if it's imperfectly, that is a great progress. That person has started his journey towards the eternal abode, towards the eternal happiness, and that's what this verse is in fifth chapter of the first canto. So, but when and in case of Grahastha or any of the ashram, as Mataji was giving the details of Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi, what is the basis? That Lord Krishna is at the center of our daily life, and He gives us strength of living the peaceful life. Our life now, all of us, we can see our life before coming to Krishna consciousness and after coming to Krishna consciousness. And when we look back, we can see the significant change around us, and it's the change of consciousness. Our consciousness has changed, how it was earlier and how it is now. Definitely, all of us have that experience, and it's a very, very sweet personal experience, which is making us sure to continue this journey in this path of Krishna consciousness. And definitely, I don't think any one of us wants to go back to our earlier lifestyle. And the reason is why we are aspiring a meaning and depth of Krishna's service, which itself is a wonderful journey, isn't it? So whenever there is any tendency of pride, envy, or anger surfaces in our mind, we realize that it's an unhealthy sign of consciousness. And now we understand that. Before coming to Krishna consciousness, lot of times people think, no, they are my friends. That's good. Means now it is, even if sometimes a devotee commits mistake, still we realize that yes, that's the mistake, and now there is a need for rectification, if possible, sometimes atonement, and that's the amazing journey. So 6 ways to regulate our daily activities and 6 living exchanges. That because now we are coming to the point of regulation, and most of us here are grihasthas, so we will come to the 2 verses from the Upadeshamrut. First one is 6 important regulations, or not, I shouldn't say regulations, the qualities devotees follow is उत्साह निश्चयात् धैर्यात् तत्तत् कर्म प्रवर्तनात् संगत्यागात् सतोवृत्ते षड्भिर्भक्तिर प्रसिद्धति. Utsaha means what do you call, encourage, we are motivating ourselves. Utsaha is a self encouragement. Nishchaya is determination. Dhairya means utsaha nishchaya dhairya, being sober and being tolerant. Tattat karma pravartanat, following the footsteps of our previous acharya. Sangat tyagat sato vritte. This is a dvyartha alankar in Sanskrit. So we are following the association of devotees and avoiding the association of non-devotees. So these are all the 6 principles which will increase our taste for the path of bhakti. Second verse, subsequent verse of that is Dadati Pratigrahanati Guyamakhyati Pruchati Bhunte Bhojayate Cheva Shadvidam Priti Lakshanam. The 6 loving exchanges, Srila Rupa Goswami says that Dadati Pratigrahanati, we should give the gifts and accept the gift. Guhyam Akhyati Pruchati, we should open our heart to a person, to a devotee who we have a very close relationship, and accept and what they are trying to tell us. So that's how we open our heart to each other. Guhyam akhyati pruchati bhunte bhojayate chaiva. We should feed prasadam to devotees, and we should accept prasadam from the devotees. Shadvidam priti lakshanam. And these are the signs of 6 loving exchanges. And obviously, when in such an atmosphere, when we have a lot of enthusiasm, which is utsaha, what will happen in this atmosphere when these two verses are followed properly? Obviously, the person will discuss only Krishna Katha, Machita Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Kathayantasya Mam Nityam, Tushyanti Charamanti Cha. That's what the quality of the devotee is in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord has emphasized. And obviously, we will chant the holy name together. How beautiful that atmosphere is. If we just try to meditate on this and imagine that this is what our daily lifestyle is. If we have to work, obviously that is necessary to fulfill our duties being a grahastha, but that's where we set an example that how to perform our day-to-day activities, and that's how, if that's the atmosphere of any house, what will happen? And we will come to that very, very interesting and important point now. We are by nature very much affected by the atmosphere around us, and these activities will give us the solid armor, the shell of not getting affected by all the non-spiritual activities in the surrounding. And hence we need to be in a place where spiritual culture is followed and our commitment can be maintained properly. There is always a test to test our consciousness, especially in this age of Kali Yuga. We can understand that more prominently now because of the situations, the surroundings around us, and therefore we need a constant nourishment of Krishna's mercy. So Srila Radhanath Maharaj gives a very beautiful analogy, and he emphasizes this because he has given a lecture on this particular verse earlier, some long back. So he says that it's an oasis in a horrible desert. It's a terrible situation. But this Krishna's mercy, this hotspots created by Srila Prabhupada, our temples, our devotees' home, and all that. These are all the oases in this terrible desert. And in that desert, like a lost person, we will become spiritually weaker if we don't take shelter of these oases. And what we need here is the association of saintly persons, and of course the devotees who will constantly remind us of regulations of Varnashram Dharma. We will not be prone to deviate from our vows, our standards, and our Guru and our spiritual master, our Guru Maharaj and our Acharya's desires. In this mission of Mahaprabhu, we have an opportunity to deliver this nourishment to other spiritually starving and thirsty people. That's how we tap the unlimited mercy of the Lord and our parampara. In ashram, we receive this nourishment and become spiritually healthy and strong and get ready to distribute it to others. That means we are also nourishing everyone else who accepts this mercy of the Lord and our acharyas. So for Grahastha, he has to work, as we were talking earlier, in this desert of Kali Yuga, and set an example for others by the purity of his or her life, and also provide funds to the other ashramas where the distribution of this nourishment is happening constantly. If we remain close-minded with our life and not invite sadhus and devotees to our home, what will happen? The impurities and miseries coming because of the kama, krodha, matsar, the envy, pride, anger, and illusion will slowly creep in. It will start with the very trivial matters, and the only solace, the only remedy for this is the sadhus and devotees. They help us to transform our house, our surrounding, our lifestyle, and ultimately our consciousness to the higher standards of purity. And hence, Srila Prabhupada has strongly emphasized the regulated life of Varnashram Dharma. He says, physically living in Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, as we were talking earlier about different dhama, is not useful if our purpose, our consciousness, and our association is not towards self-realization and purification. And here the principle of humility, tolerance, and enthusiasm as very deeply emphasized by Srila Prabhupada and our Acharya. Now, we can see in those holy places, people go there, but with improper consciousness, what happens? They try to look for comforts. And it's more of a concoctive type of mental satisfaction rather than any spiritual gain in case of certain people, that they are looking for, if the person thinks that, oh, I had prasad, but I had a good time, and yeah, it was a good trip, that will have very little benefit in terms of the spiritual progress for that person. But if it's a tapping the mercy, we need right qualification, we need the right atmosphere, and that's what Prabhupada and our acharyas and our Guru Parampara is telling us here. And we need to create that conducive atmosphere among ourselves so that others who are newly coming to this movement, who are observing us, they will be encouraged to take shelter of this movement of Srila Prabhupada. And this is how we understand the slogan given by Prabhupada, chant and be happy. So chant within our heart and outside. We are making ourselves happy and the atmosphere happy. And that's what, when I was thinking about this particular verse, it just came to my mind. Srila Prabhupada's books is a living, practical message which we are distributing to the world. It's a manual to enter the spiritual world. He has established the temples, ashrams, communities, which are nothing but the oasis in this desert. And through this, he gave us the culture of spiritually enriched environment. After we distribute the books, when a person observes and witnesses this spiritually charged atmosphere among us, the message from that book becomes alive. It becomes lively. And this is the statement by Srila Radhanath Maharaj. And I found that very, very profound, very deep, very amazing. The Lord, and then he said that the Lord in that person's heart is giving the opportunity for coming back to him. And we experience this during Yatra. So obviously the miseries because of the karmic reactions are how that takes place. And Srila Giriraj Maharaj when he was giving the class of Nectar of Devotion, he gives very beautifully, he explains that the karmic reactions are arranged so beautifully by the Lord that it will help us to purify quicker when we take shelter of this parampara, of the Guru Parampara. Such a powerful explanation given by Giriraj Maharaj in those classes, and it's a phenomenal encouragement for all of us. On the other hand, if a person sees a discouraging atmosphere, when we distribute the books and in the devotees, because he is falling prey to the illusions and the pralobhan of this world, the material attractions of this world, it becomes counterproductive. Because if we are giving the book to somebody and say, yes, this is what the message of our sampradaya is, and if they don't observe the right mood or if the right atmosphere, they will have negative opinion, and it's a disservice to our Guru Parampara and ultimately to the Lord. Hence, the importance of ashram is very crucial for each and every one of us. All ashrams are equally important. All the 8 categories what Mataji was giving, were telling us some time back, and it's just a formality, the division of the ashram to render different services to the Lord. This enables the proper spiritual culture. So no ashram is less or more. As in Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord says that feet are Shudra, and then arms are Kshatriya, belly is Vaishya, and head is, and his face and his head is a Brahmana. So every single organ of our body, how essential to us, and that's how the Lord is saying. So even every single ashrama in this world, brahmachari, grahastha, sannyas, and vanaprastha, and all Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, all are equally important to serve in performing and rendering the service to the Lord. And we will find Vaishnava saints from all different social backgrounds, even in last 500 or 1000 years. I am from, my origin is from Maharashtra, and we have so many saints from different strata of the social classes. Some are from the Vaishya community, for example, Sant Tukaram, and some are from the cobblers community, some are from the potters, and the great personalities, the poetry and the literature they have written, that is absolutely mind-blowing. One of the saints, Sant Tukaram, he says, he describes the Lord when he saw that Vitthal in Pandharpur. He says, Rajasa Sukumar, Madanacha Putala. So what that means is, he's a royal prince, and he's so beautiful that Ravi Shashikala Lopaliya. That means the beauty of the of moon and different types of what do you call, when the sun and the moon when they rise and when they set, that time, and when they are at the peak, they have a different beauty, and their manifestation is different. They have different amazing qualities. And Dwara Maharaj says that's just insignificant when we see the beautiful face of the Lord. And he says that, and there is beautiful literature given by different saints. We don't have enough time for that. It's already just 7-8 minutes left. So that's what I thought we will talk about the Varnashram Dharma. So now I would like to give you the very important, the background of how to study what is our nature, what is Varnashram Dharma. And Srila Prabhupada said that even in his last few days, he expressed several times that I have done only 50% of my work. 50% is still remaining. And then Bhakti Charu Maharaj and many great personalities, Abhiram Prabhu, one of his personal servants, and they said that Prabhupada, what is remaining? And Prabhupada always said that 50% of the work which is remaining is establishing the Varnashram Dharma. So Prabhupada had perfect formula in his mind to give it to us. And one of the great personalities, His Holiness Shivram Swami, has written a book. He's by going through the different conversations, the literature, and obviously with his own with his meditation on the Shastra, because he's a profound scholar. And he has written the first book, which is about the Varna. That is this one. I think people can see here, Varnashram Dharma, Varnashram Compendium, Volume 1, the Varnas. The second volume, I'm not sure whether it is published or not. That is about the ashrama, and then Vyavahara means how the exchanges between different ashramas and the Varnas. And the last part he's going to come up with is the Prayashchitta. If there are any mistakes we commit in our life, then what are the types of atonements we can go through to purify our consciousness? So that is basically this Varnashram compendium Maharaj has written. So I will just quickly go through what he gives in the contents. It's an amazing book to read, and his language is so beautiful. Once we start, we cannot stop reading. It's every book is like that. So he gives the first point here, general conduct, and before that, in part 1, he says that what about this, the compendium and this volume, why Varnashram is special. Varnashram, neither outdated nor dangerous. It is an eternal establishment by the Lord himself. So, and then what are the general conducts and the 4 pillars of religion? Tolerance and discrimination, control of mind and senses, non-violence, celibacy, charity, reading the scriptures, how to read, what mood there should be, simplicity and satisfaction, rendering the service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements, remaining silent and grave, spiritual knowledge, food distribution and divine vision, the 9 limbs of pure devotion. And Maharaj has brought the different, he's given basically the sutra, the formula from our acharyas, like Nectar of Devotion and Nectar of Instructions and all other books. If anyone has read his magnum opus, the Navaraja Mahima, we can see how beautifully he narrates the details from various scriptures. And then the duties and characteristics of the Varna, that is in the part 3, and work, eligibility, the qualities of different different Varnas, Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahman, and everything. How the social order should be. Then pillars in the society according to the different Varna, Ashrama, Vyavahara, and Prayashchitta. That is I think he has given just a brief idea of what are the pillars, and then in while giving the duties of the Kshatriya and the Brahmanas, and how to determine what Varna I have, what Varna I fall in, how to do that. That is in the chapter 30 of this book. And mixed Varna, how to deal with that if the person has mixed tendencies of someone has a tendency of Vaishya and as well as Brahmana, so how to deal with that. So that is one chapter, and he has given actually the complete details of the how to run this society. So ashrama, economy and family tradition, our mission in loving devotion, and how we will be serving Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas in this. And he has given the references of where this has come from. So this is the book, Varnashram Compendium, and that's, I thought I will give the details of that. So it's only 1 minute remaining. I wanted to talk about the details of what you call Vedic literature. For example, we can see here, the Vedas, the 4 Vedas, the Upavedas, and then what is the importance of that, how it is defined in Smriti and Shruti, the Brahmanas, Aranyakas, the Upanishad, and how is the background of Upanishad, what is the crest jewel of all Upanishads? Bhagavad Gita. So what are the other Upanishads we know? There are basically the two types, Shukla Upanishad and Krishna Upanishad. There is a story, beautiful story behind it. Maybe sometime we can discuss on some other day. And then Vedangas is for example, Jyotisha Shastra, how to learn the Vyakaran, the grammar, Nirukti or etymology, and Chanda, how to sing. There are different types of Chanda of singing, the hymns of the Vedic hymns. So that is all the Vedangas. And then Darshana. And we talked very briefly yesterday about the Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva and Uttar Mimamsa, and different personalities related to that. And then Upavedas, which is basically how to live a life in this world with our regular material duties. For example, Sthapavitya Ved or Shilpa Ved, then Dhanur Ved, how to fight, that is for the archers or the soldiers. And then what we call Gandhara Ved, how to sing. So that is all part of according to the time, place and circumstances, we have to follow what we remember, what we have heard. So that comes to Smriti. And what we have heard from the Vedas, that is eternal. That will remain as it is. That is non-changing. So that's the difference. That very briefly, I thought I will just mention it. It's a very detailed study, and all the acharyas and their sampradaya. For example, ours is a Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava sampradaya. Ramanuja sampradaya is called Vishishta Advaita sampradaya, and so on and so forth. One of my very close friends, fortunately he has logged in today, His Grace Sarvadni Krishna Prabhu. I can see his name here. He's a scholar. He knows a lot about these different sampradayas. So that's it for today. If there are any questions or any comments, we can discuss quickly.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Yogeshwar. I'm just in awe of your depth and breadth of Sastric knowledge and grasp and of Sanskrit verses and everything. It's just incredible, Prabhuji. I'm really, really incredibly honored to be under your shelter in these classes. So thank you for enlightening us. It is honestly quite mind-blowing in terms of your depth of knowledge. I have a comment. I presume from what we read from Rupa Goswami, Nectar of Devotion, etc., that the Varnashrama system is actually means and not the end. The end being a Vaishnava, and that a Vaishnava is effectively somewhat outside of this, because you can be in the Varnashrama system but not be a devotee or not a Vaishnava.
Yes.
But the end goal is to be a Vaishnava, and the structure of the Varnashrama system is to effectively give that.
Yes. But
so it is not the end goal of a Vaishnava necessarily, but it is a means to become a Vaishnava.
Definitely, I agree with you. But the thing is, if we read who is Vaishnava, the definition of Vaishnava as per Rupa Goswami, I don't know how many people fit into that.
No, I understand. So that now comes my second question then.
Yeah.
In Kali Yuga, we are explicitly told there is no Brahmanas, we're only Sudras.
Yes.
And that underlined and underscored by Srila Prabhupada continuously in whatever we read. Yet Srila Prabhupada still has instigated and kept the Brahmin initiation process, which in itself has led to problems within ISKCON, where we end up with very small, perhaps elitist clan that feel that they're Brahmin and walk around puffed up, when actually we're all Sudras, and actually we're meant to be even beyond this process of Vaishnava sits even above and beyond
So the aim is a much, the threshold is a very high one.
Yeah.
And yet we've still instigated the process of creating Brahmins artificially. What is your understanding from what we should take from this? Why have we created artificial Brahmins in us? Right? Why don't we just say Vaishnava tier 1, Vaishnava tier 2, rather than a Brahmin classification when we know we're not Brahmins?
Good one. I can't speak for others, but yeah, I agree. I'm quite puffed up and very arrogant person, probably.
Oh, I'm so sorry,
You
but
might
it
have
wasn't aimed
observed.
at you at all. It was. I'm just saying there are very small, group within us that do have that. We're humans, so even within devotees, unfortunately, we still have egos, and I'm the one that has the hugest ego in this form. So my apologies, Prabhuji. That was not aimed at you at all.
No, the thing is, Prabhuji, obviously we need certain regulations for every activity in our sampradaya. And to follow that regulations, we need the permission from our spiritual master. So when someone has a desire to do deity worship, when someone has a desire to do preaching, someone has a desire to do the detailed shastric preaching, knowledge acquiring and everything, for that there is a process defined in the scriptures, and that is nothing but the second initiation. And that's why I said specifically that is a dvija, that is not a Brahman initiation. The quality of Brahman is, as we discussed here, that the person has to be very simple, humble, has a tremendous gratitude, there has to be enthusiasm, the tolerance level is very high, Trinadapi Sunichena, which is the base formula of our movement. So obviously when the person has that, and as I said, when someone comes to the point of, yes, I have gained the knowledge and now it is the time to practice that knowledge properly, that person will have all the great qualities of a Vaishnava. When somebody follows the scriptures and realizes the scriptures, automatically they will come to the Vaishnava platform. So this is the process set by Srila Prabhupada to come to the point of purification of consciousness. And this Brahman Diksha is the reasoning by people will see an example. When we distribute books, when we are distributing Srila Prabhupada's message to others, the person has to see the example, and then they will say, yes, I would like to give my life to this movement. And that's the reason we have to follow certain rules, regulations, and the process of Dvija Vipra and Brahmajana Titi Brahmanyam. So that's what I can speak about the process. Can't really comment on anyone else because I'm not qualified to comment on what others are. I have committed blunders and mistakes a lot of times in my journey. That's what I can say.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I was not aiming at trying to be offensive in any way. I was just
No,
asking
I know.
why in a structure in a society that is so well rooted in understanding the philosophy of Kali Yuga, and yet Prabhupada still, rather than just leaving it at second initiation, we refer to it as Brahmin initiation. But we know we're not qualified to be Brahmins within this yuga. So it's always perplexed me as to why Srila Prabhupada would have selected that.
He is our Acharya. If he has set certain standards, if he has set certain process, I'm sure there is
I'm not questioning the process, Prabhuji. I'm just questioning the label.
Yeah,
I understand.
We need to give some name, right? And Shastra has given the name, as I said, Dvija Vipra Brahman. So that's what the name in the process is coming to. But as I said, I can't really comment more on the on the implementation of the process.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other comment, question, additions? If not, then we will end our session today. Thank you, everybody. It's a journey for all of us together. So, thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
ध्रुवेश्च कृपा सिन्धुवे च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.